Hello everyone! Do you believe in ghosts, spirits, and supernaturals? Well, after reading this story, you might want to. Ishwaran the Storyteller, Chapter 3 of Class 9 book Moments by author R.K. Lakshman. In this chapter, we have two main characters, Mahindra, who is a young supervisor, and his cook Ishwaran, who is an adept storyteller. What did Ishwaran tell Mahindra one day which made him leave his job and run away? Let's find out in the story. One night, Mahindra woke up from his sleep and saw a dark cloudy form. He broke out into a cold sweat. Was it a ghost? What did Mahindra see which made him so scared? Let's read about it in the story. The story was narrated to Ganesh by a young man Mahindra by name. He was a junior supervisor in a firm which offered on-hire supervisor at various types of construction sites, factories, bridges, dams, and so on. Mahindra was a junior supervisor in a firm which offered on-hire supervisor, that means on-the-site supervisor, to various types of construction sites, factories, bridges, dams, and so on. So Mahindra told this story to a man named Ganesh. Mahindra was a junior supervisor in a firm which offered supervisors to various construction sites, factories, bridges, dams, and such kind of places. Mahindra's job was to keep an eye on the activities at the work site. He had to keep moving from place to place every now and then as ordered by his head office. So Mahindra's job was to keep account of all the activities that was happening at the work site, because his company had to provide supervisors to such places like construction sites, factories, bridges, dams, and so on. So Mahindra had to keep moving from one place to another to keep an eye on the activities at such places. So as ordered by head office, he used to go from one place to another. From a coal mining area to a railway bridge construction site, from there after a few months to a chemical plant which was coming up somewhere. So he used to move from one place to another, from coal mining to railway bridge construction, or from there to some other site. Every now and then he used to move. Mahindra and Ishwaran. Mahindra was a bachelor, hence his needs were very simple, and he was able to adjust himself in all kinds of odd situations, whether it was an ill-equipped means not well furnished circuit house, or a makeshift means temporary canvas tent in the middle of a stone quarry, that means stone mine. So Mahindra was a bachelor, hence his needs were very simple and he was able to adjust in all kinds of situation. But one asset means a useful and valuable thing or person he had was his cook Ishwaran. Ishwaran was also quite attached to Mahindra and followed him and accompanied him wherever he was posted. Ishwaran used to cook for Mahindra, wash his clothes, and he used to talk to his master at night. He could weave out endless stories and anecdotes on varied subjects. Anecdotes are short stories related to real incidents. So Ishwaran used to chat with his master at night. Apart from cooking and washing and cleaning for him, he used to tell his master endless stories and real incidents on various subjects at night. The exceptional qualities of Ishwaran. Ishwaran also had an amazing capacity to produce vegetables and cooking ingredients seemingly out of nowhere in the middle of a desolated landscape with no shops visible for miles around. Desolated means isolated and unoccupied. So apart from cooking and cleaning for Mahindra and chatting with him at night, telling him endless stories, Ishwaran also had exceptional quality of producing vegetables and cooking ingredients even at a place which was completely cut off from rest of the world. He would miraculously conjure up means to create with magic, the most delicious dishes made with fresh vegetables within an hour of arriving at the zinc sheet shelter at the new workplace. Zinc sheet shelter means a temporary shelter with roof made of metals and sheets. So within an hour of arriving, he would somehow by magic make most delicious dishes even at a place which was secluded away from rest of the world. Mahindra would be up early in the morning It was Mahindra's routine to get up early in the morning, have breakfast, leave for work. He used to carry some food prepared by Ishwaran. Meanwhile, Ishwaran would clean the place where they were living, wash the clothes, and have a leisurely, that means relaxing bath, pouring several buckets of water over his head and muttering. Muttering means saying in a low voice a prayer all the while. Then it would be lunchtime. After eating, Mahindra would read a book for a while after dozing. The book that he used to read were usually some popular Tamil thrillers running over to 100 pages, that means 100 pages long. Its imaginative descriptions and narrative flourishes means detailed description, would hold Ishwaran enthrall. Enthrall means captivated. He would be very fascinated. So he would generally read Tamil thrillers. They would and the description would be so elaborate that Ishwaran would be captivated. He would love to read that book for hours. Ishwaran's uprooted tree description. Ishwaran was very much interested in reading Tamil thrillers, and his own description of any incident was greatly influenced by the Tamil authors that he read. When he was narrating even the smallest incident, he would bring all the surprises and suspense that he had read about into the description that he was giving. For example, if he just has to say that he saw an uprooted tree on the highway, he would say, with eyebrows suitably stretched and arms held out in dramatic gesture. He would bring all the drama in his description with his hands stretched and eyebrows raised. The road, he would describe it like this. The road was deserted. Deserted means isolated with no one around, and I was all alone. Suddenly, I spotted something that looked like an enormous bushy beast lying sprawled across the road. Sprawl means with arms and legs stretched. I was half inclined to turn and go back, but as I came closer, I saw that it was a fallen tree with its dry branches spread out. So instead of just describing that he came across an uprooted tree with all the expression in his face and his arms stretched out, eyebrows raised, he would describe that it was a deserted road and he was all alone, and suddenly he looked at an enormous bushy beast. That means a huge hairy monster which was lying with his arms and legs stretched on the road, and he was all about to turn and go back, but then he came closer and he saw that it was just a fallen tree with its branches spread out. Mahindra would stretch himself back in his canvas chair and listen to Ishwaran's tales uncritically. So Mahindra would also be so interested that he would just sit relaxing on the armchair and listen to Ishwaran's story without questioning. Story of the Tusker. Tusker means elephant. The place I come from is famous for timber. Timber is wood which is sent for processing to be used for various purposes like making furniture. Ishwaran would tell story of place where he belongs to. He said that he comes from a place which is famous for wood. There is richly wooded forest all around. So the place is surrounded with richly wooded forest. The logs are hauled onto the lorries by elephant. Hauled means carried or transported. And lorries are small trucks or vehicles on which woods are transported. And this carrying process is done by elephants. These elephants are huge and well fit. He calls them beast. And when they turn wild, even the most experienced Mahavat is a person who looks after elephants and trains them, is not able to control them. So Ishwaran tells that he belongs to a place which is famous for wood, and wood is carried to lorries by elephant. They are huge and well-fed beasts, and if they turn wild, even the most experienced Mahavat is not able to control them. And after this prologue is introduction, Ishwaran would launch into, that means delve into the elaborate story on the elephant. And then he says, one day a tusker escaped from timber yard and began to roam about, stamping on bushes. Tusker, as I said, is elephant. Stamping means crushing. So one day an elephant escaped from his timber yard and started roaming around. He crushed everything that came on its way, tearing up wild creepers. Creepers are climbers, plants, and breaking branches. Everything he created complete havoc. And you know, sir, how an elephant behaves when it goes mad? Ishwaran would get so caught up in the excitement of his own story that he would get up from the floor and jump about, stamping his feet in emulation of the mad elephant. Emulation means copying. So he would be so engrossed in his story that he would get up from his place and he would try to copy the mad elephant. He would be so caught up in the story that he would try to copy the mad elephant by jumping and stamping his feet. Then he continued by telling that the elephant reached the outskirts. Outskirts means outer part of their town, breaking all the fences like matchsticks. And then he continued by saying that the elephant came on the main road. He smashed all the stalls of fruits, mud pot, clothes, and people ran helter and skelter. Helter and skelter means here and there, in panic, in fear. The elephant now entered a school ground where children were playing, breaking all the brick wall. All the children, all the boys in the school, they ran into their classrooms and they shut the doors tight. The beast grunted. Grunted means made a loud, angry noise, and wandered about. It roamed about, pulling the football goal post, tearing down the volleyball net, kicking and flattening the drum of water, and uprooting the shrubs, that means small trees there. In the meanwhile, all the teachers were also so scared that they climbed up to the terrace of the school building, and from there they helplessly watched the depredations of the elephant. Depredation means all the destructions caused by the elephant. There now was not a single soul below on the ground. The streets were empty, as if all the inhabitants, that means all the people, all the residents of the entire town, they had suddenly disappeared. Then he said that he was studying in the junior class at that time and was watching the whole drama of the elephant from rooftop, and he didn't know what came over him suddenly. He grabbed a cane from the hands of one of the teacher. Cane is stick, and ran down the stair into the open. The elephant grunted menacingly. Menacingly means threateningly. Swung a branch of tree. It uprooted a tree and swung its branch, which he held in its trunk, and stamped its feet and kicked up the loud mud and dust. That means elephant showed that he is angry, and it looked frightening. It was scary, but he moved towards it. That means Ishwaran moved towards the elephant with stick in his hand, and people were watching the scene hypnotized. They were totally glued to the scene. They were seeing what Ishwaran was doing to the elephant from nearby shop tops, from the tops of their shops or houses, wherever they were. The elephant looked at me red-eyed. Ishwaran further said that the elephant looked at him red-eyed. He was completely angry and mad, ready to rush towards Ishwaran. It lifted its trunk and trumpeted loudly. Trumpeted means made a loud sound. And at that moment, Ishwaran said that he moved forward, mustered all his courage. That means gathered all his courage. Whacked. Whacked means to hit its third toenail on the quick. He quickly hit the third toenail of the elephant. The beast, that means the elephant, looked stunned or surprised for a moment. Then it shivered. Then it shook a little and from head to foot, and then collapsed. Then it fell down. And this is how he controlled the elephant. And at this point, Ishwaran would leave the story unfinished. Here, he would stop and then get up mumbling, get up saying something in the low voice that I will be back after lighting the gas and warming up the dinner. Meanwhile, Mahindra, who had been listening to this story with rapt attention, that means completely focused, would be left hanging. So Mahindra was listening to the story, and all of a sudden Ishwaran would stop and go inside, and Mahindra would be left hanging there. And when Ishwaran returned, he would not pick up the thread of the story right away. Pick up the thread means to start from where it was left. He would not start telling the rest of the story. Then Mahindra had to remind him. He would tell him to ask. He would ask for the conclusion. He would tell that the end was pending. Then, with no interest, Ishwaran would say, well, a veterinary doctor was summoned to revive the elephant. A veterinary doctor, that means an animal doctor, was summoned. That means called to revive the elephant, to bring the elephant to its original position. Ishwaran would shrug casually. He would just say it casually without interest. And then he would say that 2 days later, it was led away by its Mahavat to the jungle. That means 2 days later, the elephant was sent to the jungle by its Mahavat. Well, how did you manage to do it, Ishwaran? How did you bring down the beast? Then Mahindra would asked Ishwaran with interest, how did you manage to bring down that beast, the elephant? Then Ishwaran said that it has something to do with Japanese art, karate or jujitsu, about which he had read somewhere. It temporarily paralyzes the nervous system. That is why the elephant fell down, because it paralyzed its nervous system. Not a day passed without Ishwaran recounting some story packed with adventure, horror and suspense, whether the story was credible, that means believable, or not. Every single day, Ishwaran used to tell a story to Mahindra, which was full of adventure, horror and suspense. And Mahindra also enjoyed listening to his story because of the inimitable way in which it was told. Inimitable means the unique way. Ishwaran used to tell it in the unique way with all the expressions. Ishwaran seemed to more than make up for the absence of a TV in Mahindra's living quarter. So at Mahindra's place, since it was just a shed, there was no TV or other furnitures or other entertainment materials. So Ishwaran used to fill up for the lack of TV or other entertainment things. One morning when Mahindra was having his breakfast, Ishwaran asked, "Can I make something special for dinner tonight, sir?" So he asked, "Can I make something special?" After all, it was an auspicious, that means good day, and according to traditions, we prepare various delicacies, that means tasty food, to feed the spirits, that means souls of our ancestors today. So he asked if he could cook something special that night, because according to traditions, it was a good day and they had to cook some tasty food for the souls of the ancestors. Ancestors are people who have passed. Ishwaran's revelation about the place. That night, Mahindra enjoyed the most delicious dinner. He enjoyed the food that Ishwaran had cooked, complimented, praised him, appreciated him for his culinary skill. Culinary means cooking skill. So Mahindra appreciated Ishwaran for his cooking skills and he was very pleased. Unexpectedly, Ishwaran, who was very pleased and excited, launched into a most garish means loud and clear account involving supernatural. He started talking about supernaturals, ghosts and spirits. He started by saying that, you know, sir, the entire factory area we are occupying was once a burial ground. It was a place where dead people were buried. He all of a sudden brought this topic. Mahindra was jerked out of the pleasant reverie he had drifted into after the satisfying meal. Reverie is a state of being lost into one's thought. Mahindra was in the thought of the pleasant food he just had. He was into good memories. And all of a sudden he was jerked. He was shocked. He came out of that memory. "I knew on the first day itself when I saw a human skull lying on the path." Ishwaran continued that this place is full of ghosts and supernatural, and he knew on the very first day when they came there because he saw a human skull lying on the path. And even now he said that he comes across a number of skulls. Ishwaran's ghostly encounter. Ishwaran continued. He went on to narrate how he sometimes saw ghosts at night. He told that he sometimes saw ghosts at night, and he said that I am not easily frightened by these things, sir. He said that he is not scared by these things. He is brave fellow. But one horrible ghost of a woman which appears off and on at midnight during the full moon. It is an ugly creature with matted hair. Matted means rough and tangled, which are not brushed, and a shriveled face. Shriveled means wrinkled and shrunken, like a skeleton holding a fetus in its arm. Fetus is unborn baby. So Ishwaran went on telling about his encounter with this particular ghost which appears on full moon night in the midnight, which is an ugly creature with unbrushed hair and wrinkled face. It looks like a skeleton holding a fetus in its arm. Now, Mahindra was completely shivered. He was completely scared with this description and interrupted sharply. He raised his voice and he said, "You are crazy, Ishwaran. You are mad. There are no such things as ghost or spirit. It is all creation of your imagination. You have done this imagination. Get your digestive system examined. Go to doctor and get it examined. And maybe your head also. You talk nonsense." So Mahindra avoided this conversation by telling that it is just a creation of your mind. And then he left the room and retired for the night. He went to sleep, expecting Ishwaran to sulk for a couple of days. Sulk means to be silent or disappointed. But to his surprise, next morning, Ishwaran was as cheerful and talkative as ever. But from that day on, Mahindra went to bed with this certain unease, although he used to talk brave, but he was little shaken and scared. Every night he peered into the darkness. He looked carefully into the darkness outside his window next to the bed, trying to make sure that there was no movement of dark shades in the vicinity. Vicinity means nearby area. So every night he would look out of his window to make sure that there was no movement, unexpected movement in the nearby area. But he could see nothing except sea of darkness with the twinkling lights of factories miles away. He had always admired the milky white landscape, the milky white things outside in the full moon night. But after hearing to Ishwaran's story of female ghost, he avoided looking out of his window altogether during a full moon night because he was scared of sighting something. Now Mahindra saw something outside the window. One night it actually happened. He saw something outside. Let's see, what did he see? One night, Mahindra was woken up from his sleep by a low moan. Moan means crying sound, which was close to his window. At first, he put it down. That means he avoided it by thinking that it was a cat prowling around for mice. Prowling means searching a mice. But the sound was too guttural. It was too harsh for a cat to be a cat's voice. He resisted the curiosity to look out lest he should behold. Behold means see, a sight which would stop his heart. So one night, Mahindra was woken out of sleep because he heard some crying noise. And first he thought that it was a cat which was looking for a mice. But the sound was too harsh to be a cat's voice. Now, Mahindra was already scared from inside. So he tried to stop himself from looking outside. Otherwise, he would see a sight which can stop his heart. He would be very scared. But the wailing means crying, became louder and louder and less feline, less like a cat. Well, feline means something which belongs to a cat family. So the crying became louder and less like a cat, and he could no more resist his temptation of looking outside the window. So he had to look outside the window. He lowered himself to the level of window sill and he looked out of the white sheet. He looked out to see the white sheet of moonlight outside. And there, not very far away, was a dark, cloudy structure clutching a bundle. He actually saw a cloudy, that means which was not clear. It was a hazy structure holding a bundle. Mahindra broke into cold sweat and fell back on the pillow, panting. Panting means breathing heavily. Mahindra was so scared that he at once came back to his bed, breathing heavily. And as he gradually recovered from the ghastly experience, ghastly means horrible. As he was recovering, he was trying to think that he saw nothing. He was trying to recover from the experience. He began to reason. He began to give reason that that must be something else. It was not what he saw. He finally concluded. He tried to conclude. He came to the conclusion that it must have been some sort of auto-suggestion, some sort of suggestion which his unconscious mind has given. So it happens to human that if we think about something, we tend to see it because our mind gives that suggestion. So the same thing happened. He thought that it was just an auto-suggestion which his subconscious mind has played as a trick on him. Was it really a ghost? What did Mahindra see? Was it a ghost? Let's find out. So by the time he got up in the morning, had a bath and come out to have his breakfast, the horror of previous night had faded away from his memory. It has gone away. By the time he got up, had breakfast, what he saw from previous night, the horrible scene was going away. It had gone away from his mind. And Ishwaran greeted him at the door with his lunch packet and his bag. And just as Mahindra was stepping out, Ishwaran grinned and said, Ishwaran smiled and he said, "Sir, remember the other day when I was telling you about the female ghost with fetus in its arm? You were so angry with me for imagining things." So he reminded the incident when he was telling Mahindra about the female ghost and the fetus. And then he said that you were angry on me. You thought that I am imagining thing. Well, you saw her yourself last night. I came running hearing the sound of moaning that was coming from your room. Then Ishwaran said that, well, you saw that ghost yourself last night. I came to your room. I heard the sound of crying and I came to your room and then I saw what happened to you. At that point, a chill went down Mahindra's spine. Mahindra was completely shaken and scared. He did not wait for Ishwaran to complete his sentence. He hurried away to his office and handed in his paper, resolving to leave the haunted place the very next day. So he did not even wait for Ishwaran to complete his sentence. He ran to his office and he gave paper. He gave his resignation and he decided to leave that haunted place the very next day. He left that place. So what do you think? Was it really a ghost or it was some prank or trick by Ishwaran on Mahindra? Just let me know. Comment in the comment section. What do you think? And do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe in supernaturals? Also let me know about it. The story is written by R.K. Lakshman. Thank you for listening to the stories, children. If you have any doubt, you can just write in the comment section and I will definitely answer to it. Till then, bye-bye. Take care.